It feels good to be back up here on Monday night after a 2-week break due to me being on vacation, but we're back here to discuss 3 hours of just wonderful rematch nonsense bullshit. Good to see the Viper back on Monday Night Raw as he main evented tonight against AJ Styles. Couple of interesting tidbits and stuff that went down on the show. We got a new SummerSlam match added, a title match to the card. But other than that, it was largely your typical Raw with umpteen rematches and a bunch of shit and that sort of thing. So definitely not an earth-shattering Raw by any means. You guys can let me know your grades on the show, A, B, C, or D. Or give it a number grade, 1 through 10, whatever you thought of it. I can't give this show any better than a C- in my mind. I mean, AJ and Randy Orton was very good. It was good to see Randy Orton back. I'm glad that it appears, even with the RKO, that they're probably not going to be dropping RKBRO. And they're going to be staying together, I think, based on the body language, the smiles at the end. Even Jimmy Smith, as we're signing off, is saying, is RK-Bro back together? So I think Randy Orton hugging him and RKOing him was actually a way to seal the fact that they are going to stick around and stick together, which you know they're going to. They're feuding with the tag team champions. So you know that's going to be a match made for SummerSlam. I don't think it's going to be Randy Orton versus Riddle one-on-one. I think you go the tag team route and you put the belts on them. That's what I'm doing. Pick up where you left off. RK-Bro was getting over. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the little friendship package, the little video package we got tonight was very good. So largely, I enjoyed the RK-Bro stuff, you know, after 7 weeks of not having it and Randy Orton being off TV. Karrion Cross returned to right that wrong of the Jeff Hardy loss from a few weeks before. We knew this was supposed to be the match we were going to get before Jeff contracted COVID, but he's back now, and that happened. We had Baron Corbin appearing on Raw tonight in a desperation move. They kind of rekindled or resurrected that brand-to-brand invitational shit, which I don't think really went anywhere. They just never really mentioned it. So he was over there courtesy of that. Other than that, though, kind of weird shit. Kooky stuff with Alexa Bliss and the Lily doll winking and causing Dewdrop to lose the match. My God, what are we watching here? What are we doing with our lives, y'all? But anyway, we're going to do our best to at least look at as much positive stuff about this show as possible and also do a fair amount of complaining about it because I'm sick and tired of these fucking rematches. We've had John Morrison versus Damian Priest 16 fucking weeks in a row. You've got this championship contender shit that they seem to be obsessed with. It's all they do. The only way you earn title shots in the last few weeks on Raw or SmackDown is to face the champion and beat them, which is fucking stupid because you got a whole locker room full of guys. With what you did with Ricochet tonight, why couldn't you have a championship contenders match against somebody else, against 2 or 3 opponents? Have them win them, earn a title shot, and then have the awesome TV match with Sheamus, except the title's on the line. And you can put Sheamus over for all I care. I don't give a shit. The match was pretty good between Ricochet and Sheamus tonight. But why couldn't Ricochet build up a couple of wins and then just get the shot, defend the title on TV, and put him down? You know, at least that's something, you know, but it's always just the same fucking nonsense. And I don't know whose idea this is. It just seems incredibly lazy. It's the work of a lazy 15-year-old who refuses to clean his room. You know, it's just, they're so fucking lazy. And there's so many simpler and easier ways to determine title shots and shit like that. And they just do everything ass backwards, and that really fucking annoyed me, especially since Ricochet is very good. Sheamus is doing the best work of his career, and that's a match I would have actually liked to see for the title on TV with Ricochet building up to that title match. You know, but it was all done to set up Damian Priest and Sheamus at SummerSlam, but still, they're going about determining title contenders and challengers all fucking wrong here. And I'll take AEW's ranking system or win-loss record shit any day over this nonsense because none of this makes any damn sense whatsoever. But I'll say hi to the chat, see what you guys thought about the show. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up button for me tonight. Raw was not good. I'm not expecting a huge audience, so I need all the help I can get there. And we'll see what you guys have to say. Knock out the super chats, and we'll get rolling here with the results in a moment. Did you guys catch? I'm trying to think if there's any wrestling news to get into. Sorry, my nose is itching. I guess Buddy Murphy has released some sort of a video or a vignette depicting him inside of a prison, which seems to be the theme with a lot of WWE released talent, is they act like they've been imprisoned, and they really, really have. I mean, Moxley did it, now Buddy Murphy, and I'm sure a lot of other people have alluded to that as well. But Murphy is ready to burst onto the scenes. The rumbling is that it's going to be AEW, which is just perfect for him because he was way too good of a wrestler to be released. And you think about Omega and Buddy Murphy or some shit in a match, holy shit. So that's the only kind of newsworthy thing I saw kind of floating around out there today, unless I missed something, but we'll talk about that too. Let me say hi to Ryan. Josh is in here. Divine Ricks, thank you for the $5 early. Hey, Greg, just wanted to say that the SmackDown matches at SummerSlam are way more interesting to me than the Raw matches. I'm glad Orton is back. Yeah, the SummerSlam matches are going to be pretty good. I mean, I'm looking forward to Roman and Cena. I'm looking forward to Bianca and Sasha, too. WrestleMania was great. And, yeah, they're right now stacked up a little bit better because I don't give a rat's ass about Lashley and Goldberg. I'll tell you that. Chris Miner, thanks for the $5, dude. Sup, Greg? Currently in the stands watching a dark match with Cena in it. Very cool. It felt good being in a crowd again. Ricochet was definitely the fan favorite. I didn't realize they were at the Amway Center tonight, so they were where the Thunderdome used to be, except there was no thunder and no dome. That's kind of cool. Well, good. I hope you had a good time. I'm going to be at Raw 2 weeks from tonight here in San Diego, and I honestly don't think that's going to prevent me really from doing a Raw review. I should be able to get home about an hour after the show. I don't think I'll hang around for the dark match. And I can probably come up and still do a review just a little bit later. So keep that in mind. 2 weeks, Raw after SummerSlam. I'll probably still be up here that night, but just a little bit later. Takes about a 30-minute drive to my house from the arena. So depending on what time I get out of there and get to my car and get through traffic and all that bullshit, I'll try to come up and do a review just super late in 2 weeks. Good to see you back in here. Timothy Hawkins, Slim Jim, Atomic Cody, Lambo, Tatanani, I always say that wrong. I'm sorry. Rated RKO versus AJ Styles and Omos SummerSlam. Do not be surprised. Well, yeah, that's obviously where they're going with that. Mango Salsa, you're right. That's all Raw is. It's a bunch of rematches. Deshaun Robinson's here. Good to see you, man. What's up, JJ Leg, FRGN? We've got Stone Cold, Jan Michael, Timothy, Sonic, Big J, Joshua, 77, Matt, Black Knight, Charlie, Timu. Good to see you back, man. I think you popped into the watch-along last night. We watched SummerSlam 1994. It was pretty fun. Owen and Brett in a cage. The Outsiders explode. Undertaker versus Undertaker. If you want to watch that and follow along, it's on my page right now on the channel. It was yesterday's video. Thank you to everyone that was here for that. Randy Orton retire in 2030. I don't know, man. I'm not going to ever put a year or stamp on anybody's retirement because so many things come into play. We actually heard Cena say something just this week where he's going to plan on wrestling until, he's no longer welcome or whatever, which basically means as long as he's healthy enough, he will wrestle into relatively old age, probably like Hogan did or Flair did. It's not like Cena, his style, he could pretty much kind of work a match, until he gets very old. It just depends on injuries and stuff like that. But, I can see John Cena, he's in ridiculous shape. He probably will be for quite some time. So I can easily see him having a novelty or an attraction match or a nostalgia match in his 50s. Every now and then. Look at Goldberg. Goldberg can do it. Cena damn sure can do it. And Cena might even be a little bit better at age 55 than Goldberg is because I don't think the match with Lashley is going to be much. But I just don't know. It just depends on, what the circumstances are and what makes a wrestler decide to actually retire. Barry's back with $2. Thanks, dude. Bobby Lashley on Broken Skull Sessions on the 15th. I did see that. 2 people tweeted me that today. That's great. So that's going to be this Sunday. Oh, shit, this is going to be this Sunday. I'm going to be doing a watch-along this Sunday as well. That's awesome. That should be a good watch. I'm excited to hear Lashley because Austin will ask some pretty awesome questions. C is your grade, Black Knight. Yeah, I'm not going to give it much more than a C, 6.5. Saw a lot of that. Saw a lot of 6s, a lot of Cs. I agree. Ben is here as well. Stephen Harris. I don't think I missed any other super chats. All right, so that's it for right now. We'll start rolling through some of these Raw results. Probably one of the funniest parts of the show tonight was where they showed the graphics for the number 1 and number 2 movies in America or whatever. Suicide Squad featuring John Cena as number 1 and Jungle Cruise featuring The Rock as number 2. So that's kind of crazy. John Cena's in the number 1 movie. Rock is number 2. I wonder if they purposely put that on there like that. But that is kind of pretty incredible. Just shows you how large and big WWE has become. 2 of their top stars ever are in the number 1 and 2 movies. 2 wrestlers are in the top 2 movies. That's fucking insanity. So I kind of got a kick out of that Rock was numero dos. But Randy Orton was advertised to appear tonight on the show, and he opened the show. He came out with some weird-ass facial hair going on. He had a little beard patch, and he had a mustache, and I was a little bit scared of him. We've been missing Randy Orton, they said, on television now for 7 weeks. I didn't realize it had been that long. I guess just time flies when the Thunderdome sucks, So he's been out for a while, and he gets on the mic, says, "Welcome to Monday Night Raw." This is the first time, to my knowledge, Randy Orton's been in front of an audience, unless he's been working some live events. And as soon as he says, "Welcome to Raw," he doesn't say another word. Out comes Riddle, music plays, he scoots his goofy little ass down there, and he's very happy to see Randy Orton, and he's just giddy like a schoolgirl. Randy Orton said, "Look, we were a team, we were a good team, and it was fun, but I'm much better on my own, and I don't want to be friends anymore." And Riddle has just got the saddest look in his face. "What do you mean? You don't want to be my partner anymore?" He's like a fucking 5-year-old kid. And basically, Randy Orton is just trying to let him down as easy as possible, I guess. Well, AJ and Omos show up. So, this is what they're building for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. You got two guys. You have Randy Orton claiming that he's not a team with this guy, yet they're feuding with the tag team champions. Fine, maybe you don't want to be a team with Matt Riddle, but since you just happen to be feuding with the tag team champions, why don't you just team up with them for a little while, win some tag team gold, because apparently if you're a champion, you get paid more in kayfabe or whatever the fuck. So, do that. It would be good for your career. It would add another championship belt to your resume. You'd make a little bit more money. It seems like it's a win-win all the way around for Randy Orton. And when you lose the belts, RKO Matt Riddle on his fucking head and get out of there and go back and challenge for the world title or whatever you want to do. But in my mind, Randy Orton should be a little bit more open to at least temporarily aligning himself with Riddle, since he can't seem to shake off AJ and Omos. They're going to be up his ass and all of that. So those two guys are idiots, the fact that they came out here and, approached these two, because they're going to put their titles in jeopardy. So AJ starts talking shit on the mic. He winds up challenging Randy Orton to a match. Randy Orton accepts. That match would be our main event. They get in the ring. There's a little bit of a scuffle. I think Randy tosses AJ out, and then Randy goes for Omos and goes for an RKO, and Omos just kind of shoves him off, and then Riddle goes for an RKO, and Omos shoves him off. So he put both of them down, and that match, they would be the main event, AJ Styles and Randy Orton. So they're still pushing Omos as a guy that nobody's really been able to get to yet. I don't know if anybody's landed any hard blows on him. I don't think he's gone down or gone off his feet, and Randy Orton was unable to hit him with the RKO. Would have been interesting to see that big oak tree take the RKO. I thought Riddle might have been able to do it, but then he got shoved off as well. So whatever goes on next week, and we'll talk about the main event here in a minute, I would assume we got one more week left. On Monday, they're going to have to make AJ and Omos versus Randy Orton. I don't see how you don't do that for SummerSlam. Oh, cool. John Cena, Randy, and Riddle hugged after Raw. Oh, how that touches my heart. That is awesome. Joseph's given the show tonight a B. That's optimistic, or that's, you're trying. B might be a little bit high for me, but, there were some good points on the show. Like I said earlier, we had a Baron Corbin sighting on Raw. He waddles his ass in there. And he says that he's been staying in a production truck, because I was wondering, well, how the hell did he get to Raw? If he can't afford to eat anything other than canned spaghetti, how the fuck can he travel? Well, apparently he just squatted in one of the production trucks and just rode that shit there. The dude, I don't think, has taken a shower in 2 months, which he has to smell really bad. And he's interviewed, and he said that he was living in the production truck. His wife took his kids and left him. He's got no money. He's got nothing. He's desperate. And Jinder Mahal called him and offered him an opportunity to take on Drew McIntyre and maybe take Drew out. I don't know. But he said that's what he wants to do, and that's why he's here, because he's desperate and he needs the money. And, then at least Corey Graves mentions, the Superstar, what's it called? Not Superstar Initiative. What the fuck? Brand to Brand Invitational allows competitors to appear on the other show up to 4 times a year. So that all of a sudden is back, just to explain Corbin being there. Drew comes out for the match. He beats the hell out of Baron Corbin, talks shit to him while he does it. And then I think in the end, he even gets on the mic, right? I didn't write down the finish of this. I'm going by memory. I don't know why I forgot to write down the finish. But I remember Drew getting on the mic and looking at Corbin and saying, "You're pathetic." And then saying, "Okay, how much do you need? How much money do you need to get on your feet? I want to help you out. I've had a change of heart." And Baron Corbin goes, $100,000. That's all I need. What a coincidence. $100,000 is all I need. You give me $100K, I will invest that and I will be set for life. Go figure. But Baron Corbin wants $100 or $100,000, and Drew, he would have been lucky to get $100 from Drew. And I think Drew just winds up claymoring him. And did he pin him? I think he beat him, right? After that, Drew just kind of knocks him out and laughs him off and disposes of poor Baron Corbin. So maybe they just wanted to get a little bit of that bum-ass Corbin. Is that what they're calling him, actually? Maybe they wanted some of that on Raw because it has been getting pretty good reviews. This is the best Baron Corbin has ever done, in my opinion. This is my favorite gimmick of his. I've always thought he was a solid worker in the ring and put that over. But, there were other aspects of him that was highly boring, and the fans, really struggled to take to him, and WWE did nothing but put him on TV all the time. So he made a great heel. He had a great ton of heat. I tried to look at the positives in Baron Corbin, saying this dude gave everybody he's ever wrestled a good match. They trusted him enough to put him in the ring with Kurt Angle, even though I think that was a really shitty final match for Kurt Angle to have, putting him in there with Baron. I mean, Baron, took care of him and did the right thing and that sort of shit. So now that he's got a gimmick that a lot of fans are kind of getting a kick out of, maybe this is a chance for Baron Corbin. Just a chance. It might not happen, but maybe it's a chance for Baron Corbin to kind of turn the corner with some fans and say, I actually kind of am good at what I do. There's just something about my dumb face and the dumb booking around here that tends to, really kind of hold me back type of thing. But he's doing really well. I love the, I love the, what's it called? The promo shot of him, when they're advertising the graphics for the matches, and you just go to that fucking look on his face. Classic stuff. So Baron Corbin is doing great. That fucking spaghetti stain, my God, it just blows my mind that this guy has got nothing other than the clothes on his back. And I mean, I know he's explained this sort of, but has he really explained where all of his WWE money is going? Because even if you did lose all of your money in cryptocurrency or in the stock market or whatever, that's just the money you have in the market. You still have your own money, and you can't, the money could always come back or whatever. However he's losing it, I don't understand unless he had to cash it all in and or whatever. I'm not sure what the hell he's talking about there. But even if he did lose a bunch of his investments, he should still be getting a weekly paycheck from WWE. Even if he had to sell his house or something like that, there is no way this dude could not afford at least a one-bedroom apartment and a decent part of town to live in off of his WWE paycheck alone. That should be enough to cover him. So I kind of think it's funny that they're trying to come up with these excuses why he's eating canned fucking spaghetti. But, maybe they should do a kayfabe release on him. I mean, we talked about crossing that line. It's really not good to do that. But, they kind of did it a little bit with Drake Maverick last year. There might have even been one other example of that where we even said, I'm not sure if that's somewhere you want to venture into, but, if you did release him, then he could be coming back. You'd let him work a couple of fucking indie dates for $25. Just let him do it with some independent promoters that you trust. WWE does not. They would never go that far because they suck. But I don't understand why times are so tough. He's not unemployed. He's just broke. You can climb out of stuff. You're a WWE wrestler. Probably made, that $100,000, probably comes pretty quick, just a couple of months, few months or whatever, for Baron Corbin. So he should be able to climb out of the hole based on his WWE job. He lost his crown, so that means he lost all of his money. Even if he's not making as much as he used to, he should still be able to afford a fucking Happy Meal. So I think they need to explain a little bit better why he is so down on his luck. Because even if he lost every dime, he's going to get a paycheck for a couple of $1,000s in just a few days from WWE. So you should be able to have a cheeseburger, and maybe get some decent lodging and, a shower. So they're going a little far, I think, with Baron Corbin, but he's playing the role and playing the part to perfection. He's great. I hope he keeps growing his hair out because he's gray. He looks like a complete bum, and it's awesome. So Baron Corbin, we love you here on the channel. Karrion Cross. Oh, wow. Our friend Karrion Cross, currently with a losing record on Monday Night Raw. NXT champion, by the way, who was brought in and smashed completely over and mowed down everybody and chewed him up and shit him out like they were nothing is now nothing more than a mid-card, mid-level brand talent on Raw. What a surprise. So now they're going to do the match that we thought we were going to get a couple of weeks ago after he lost to Jeff Hardy in his debut. As soon as that happened, even though everybody was like, oh shit, this is a Karrion Cross burial, I agree. Making him lose to Jeff Hardy like that was fucking stupid. There is no excuse for it. Karrion Cross is not just going to be fine. That was really, really stupid of them to do that. But you also knew that it was going to light a fire on him. Don't forget, Jeff had his feet on the ropes. So Karrion Cross, he's not a pleasant person when he's angry. So he's super, super mad. You expected them to do the rematch the next week, and he would just destroy Jeff Hardy in a matter of seconds. That's what I thought they were going to do. Jeff Hardy then gets COVID. He's been out for a couple of weeks. He recovered from that quickly. So he's back this week, and we're getting Jeff Hardy versus Karrion Cross Part 2. And this match was competitive. I kind of thought they would just kind of pick up where they left off there, and Karrion would be so mad, but he took a loss last week to Keith Lee, so that's going on as well. But I thought he would still be so fuming mad over the Jeff Hardy stuff, he would dispose of Jeff a little quicker. But I'm glad they made it a competitive match because Karrion Cross needs reps like this. Being there with a veteran like Jeff. Put him in there, sink or swim, motherfucker. Let's see what you can do. It was a pretty decent match, and Jeff Hardy had a lot more offense than maybe I would have given him. But in the end, of course, Cross overcomes Jeff, puts him in the choke, taps him out, and wins very decisively. He's got that monkey off his back now, and we will see what they do with him now. So basically, he's worked 4 matches against 2 guys, and he's 1-1 against both. Lost to Hardy, beat Hardy, lost to Lee, beat Lee. I don't know. I've got very little faith in Cross. I liked him in NXT. Think he's got just such a great look and persona and all that stuff, but WWE fans aren't into him. I mean, I know he's the heel here, but they were chanting Jeff Hardy. They were firmly behind Keith Lee last week. He is going to drop that title to Samoa Joe, which I also think isn't going to do him too many favors on Raw. But we'll see. I say, he's on Raw with a lot of good talent right now. He's there with Riddle. He's there with Orton. He's there with McIntyre. Put him with some of this talent. See how he does. It's all you can do is give him a chance. So fingers crossed that, he's not completely worthless in a few weeks, but we'll see. TakeOver's coming up, and it ain't looking good for him. He's going to be on Raw permanently, I guess, after that. After the commercial, or before the commercial, I was kind of in and out of the room here, but we got some sort of Randy Orton and Matt Riddle friendship package or something, some video package, friends till the end, or whatever song was playing, I don't know. And that was kind of cute. Riddle is then interviewed, and he says that he respects Randy's decision because earlier on, Orton said that he didn't want Riddle to join him at ringside in his match with AJ Styles later on. Riddle's very upset. It was tough to watch him in that condition because heartbreak is a terrible thing. It's one of the worst pains that you can go through, and I'm sure many people can attest to that, so we can feel Matt Riddle's pain there. And so sad. He respects Randy's decision, but he's super bummed out about it. Then things just get so much better. We get Alexa Bliss. Happy birthday, little Miss Bliss, by the way. She's taking on Dewdrop, so they're continuing this Eva Marie Dewdrop shit. They rehashed what went on last week when Eva Marie and Dewdrop attacked Alexa Bliss backstage, or not backstage, in the Funhouse playground, whatever the fuck it is, and put her down. So now it's Alexa Bliss versus Dewdrop. Alexa's out there. She's got the Lily doll with her. She sticks the doll in the corner. They have a match. They're doing their thing in the match, and Dewdrop's got Alexa Bliss down. She starts walking over to the corner where Lily is sitting, and she looks at Lily, and then the camera just focuses right in on Lily, and Lily winks. So they do some funny editing animation or something there with Lily. You don't see the crowd in the background. So wasn't even very well done, which is even funnier. The doll winks at Dewdrop. She freaks, and I think Alexa Bliss is able to roll her up and pin her after a wink from a doll. I mean, the fans during this match, for a brief, short time, they chanted, "We want Wyatt." I wish that would have been a little bit louder and would have gone on a little bit longer, because after the Bray Wyatt release, I was all on board with Alexa Bliss and this new character. I thought she did a great job, and what I liked the most about it is that it kind of slowly morphed into what we see now. Like at first, she was just a little disheveled. Maybe her hair was a little messed up. She was distracted. And then her look started gradually changing, like slowly, not like boom, completely different overnight, but a slow process. This was actually a really fun evolution. And everything she was doing with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend after he had kind of, I don't know if he mind controlled her or what he did, but that all started with the Braun Strowman stuff, and Strowman didn't even care that The Fiend was fucking with her, and then she kind of joined The Fiend, and that whole thing I thought was really well done. Alexa Bliss did a great job. I always felt, wrongly I admit, that Alexa Bliss was a very one-dimensional type of worker, but she's not. She did a really good job with this and played the part well. And now it got a little weirder and a lot weirder. And I think a lot of fans started getting turned off by it around WrestleMania time because we didn't understand what the hell was going on in that match and why The Fiend lost and where the fuck The Fiend is. And now that Bray Wyatt has been released, fans don't care. Fans are now bitter. Fans don't like this because they view it as, oh, you gave Bray Wyatt's gimmick to somebody else and then canned his ass. And so it's really hard for any fan, even though Alexa Bliss is doing a good job with this character, we're starting to, number one, resent the gimmick, and number two, the gimmick is getting stupid, like really stupid. And the Lily shit is just fucking dumb. I would have much rather had Alexa Bliss take the form of Sister Abigail or something like that more than what we're doing here. I also wanted to see something down the line where you do some sort of a payoff with these two, and Alexa Bliss and The Fiend come into contact with each other again somewhere down the road and pay off, or have Alexa Bliss come out of this and go back to being who she used to be or whatever. You've ruined all that now. The fans don't want anything to do with this gimmick anymore. They all think it's fucking stupid. Nobody was putting over the doll shit tonight on social media. Everybody that I saw talking about it was rolling their eyes, thought it was fucking dumb, and they're right, it was. And just, you've ruined it now. So those "we want Wyatt" chants were interesting and they were fun. I just wish they would have been a little bit louder. But anyway, Alexa Bliss beats Dewdrop. I'm guessing what are they going to do? Alexa Bliss and Eva Marie at SummerSlam? Are they going to do Alexa Bliss and Lily versus Eva Marie and Dewdrop in a tag team match? And then Lily is going to magically turn into human form? Is there somebody from NXT that's on the verge of being called up that could be Lily? They could dress up like Lily? Didn't I hear Aaliyah got brought up or something too? I mean, they could, who knows what they'll do, but I feel like that's going to culminate, I suppose, at SummerSlam. But really, who cares? I mean, I'm worried the crowd in Vegas isn't going to be too kind to that match either. But alone on her own, Alexa Bliss has done, really well with all of this in spite of everything. And even though the gimmick is a little weird and it's a little dumb at times, she's still doing good with it. Nobody's bashing the work of Alexa Bliss. We're mostly just, not too fond of the direction that this bullshit is now taken. And I don't give a crap about this feud between these three women and this doll at all. We had one of those lovely, wonderful, brilliantly written, compelling, innovative ideas of the contenders match against Sheamus and Ricochet. They've been doing these contenders matches all over the place. I think we had 2 of them on SmackDown on Friday. We've been doing them on Raw every week with Nikki and Charlotte and in other various areas as well. And now we're doing another one, Sheamus versus Ricochet. And I guess since it's a contenders match, the rule is that if Ricochet beats Sheamus, then he gets a championship match. But that's so fucking dumb. Why do they insist on like rematches and stuff? This was a really good match, as we're going to talk about. Between the two of them. This was really good. Ricochet is great. I don't know what Vince McMahon is doing every time this guy wrestles, if he's in the bathroom or something and he somehow misses all this cool shit that Ricochet can do. He had an amazing springboard onto Sheamus from the top rope onto the announce table in this match, which was just phenomenal. And I thought these guys put on a really good, solid TV match. But instead of doing this, why didn't, like 2 weeks ago, you had Ricochet, I hate those promos where everybody comes to the ring with a microphone, but you do something where, 3 or 4 guys want a shot at the title, so you do a one-on-one match and Ricochet wins, and he tells Adam and Sonya, and they weren't even on the show tonight, tells Adam and Sonya, hey, I want a U.S. title match. And they're like, okay, we'll take that under advisement. You had a big win last week. Let's see if you can do it again tonight. And you'll take on so-and-so. And then he beats that person. And then the next week they'll say, okay, it's going to be you versus another guy who's kind of hot right now. The winner of that match, you guys will face Sheamus in 2 weeks on Monday Night Raw. Make it a Raw match like they do on Dynamite. You know, in 2 weeks, you're going to have a TV title shot, you know, or whatever. And then Ricochet gets his title shot. You put him in the ring with Sheamus. And if you want to beat him, you can, because I have no issue with a champion retaining. I got no problem with that at all. So if you just have Ricochet build up a couple of wins, earn a title shot, and he falls short in a really good, hard-fought effort, I feel like you accomplish so much more. Because, number one, you get the guy a couple of wins and get the guy noticed. And if he comes really close to winning and puts, you know, makes good fight, you know, the fans are going to recognize that and they're going to respect him even more. You know, it used to be that way back in the day. You would have guys that would have losses but would fight their asses off to where the fans, even if you're a heel sometimes, they couldn't help but to notice and appreciate that and root for you in the future. You know, it's like, who the fuck is writing this? Like, this is just so simple. It's so elementary that it seems like it's too difficult for them. This contenders match crap, it's like video game shit or something. It's really like feels like they got a template or an overlay. And all they do is just exchange the names and the positions on the thing. It's like, this one's going to be a contenders match. This is a Miz TV with an interruption, commercial, and then an impromptu match. And this one over here is Adam and Sonya making a match. And this one back here is, you know, two guys backstage bump into each other and one challenges him and he says, okay, and then they go to the ring. You know, it's like all the same scenarios. You don't see a whole lot of that on Dynamite. You know, matches are made in all sorts of different varieties of ways, and none of them are really that creative. But Jesus Christ, they're more creative than this shit. So this contenders match crap has got to go, because it's putting a dark spot on what is actually a really good match. Sheamus and Ricochet did great, but I feel like it could have just been done differently. It would have been more exciting, you know, if Ricochet built himself up to this big match. Maybe fans can expect a title change, maybe not, and Ricochet falls short. You know, instead, of course, you know, you'll have the audience that say, oh, he's buried and shit like that, but give him some wins first before you get to this. I just don't understand why it's always got to be the same matches, because if Ricochet won here, that means he would get a title shot against Sheamus, and you just already did the match. Like you know, I don't know. It's fucking annoying. So anyway, Sheamus winds up winning this match, knocking Ricochet in the middle of next week with a pretty sick-ass bro kick, pins him, and then Damian Priest comes out. And Priest and Sheamus have kind of been setting this up, I think, last week or the week before, so you knew that was going to be the match they were doing at SummerSlam. So Priest comes out, a little face-off with Sheamus. Sheamus tries to take a cheap shot on Priest, and Priest disposes him, throws him over the top rope or whatever, and then John Morrison comes out. So apparently we're getting Damian Priest versus John Morrison again. Help me out. Did we not get this match twice last week on Monday Night Raw? Wasn't it Damian Priest versus Morrison one-on-one, and Priest beat him? Then a bunch of dudes ran out there, and we had like a six-man match, and I'm pretty sure Priest pinned Morrison in that one too. I'm pretty sure Morrison took the fall in the tag. I just can't remember if it was Priest who pinned him or not. But if he did, that means Priest beat Morrison twice last week. He was already like 3-0 against Morrison prior to last week. Now you're doing Priest and Morrison again. Why? Lazy. So lazy. So fucking stupidly, ridiculously, balls out lazy. Who cares about these two? Nobody believes Morrison's going to beat Priest. He's going into SummerSlam to probably win the U.S. title. He ain't getting beat by Moist Wanted. Sorry. It's not happening. He even said hurting for a squirtin' tonight. It reminded me of 40-Year-Old Virgin. When they go to when the girl finds, you know, the black guy that looks like me with the bald head and the goatee, she finds his dating card or his speed dating card, and he put hurting for a squirtin', and Steve Carell had to pretend that he said it, and he's like, yeah, she was a hoe or something like that. Really funny. Just immediately reminded me of that. So anyway, The Miz is out there at ringside, of course, for the stupid match between Priest and Morrison, and I guess it's at the end of the match. Priest confronts The Miz. They got the drip, the super soakers, or whatever the fucking things are, and I think he squirts them on The Miz. And then The Miz just miraculously stands up. It's a miracle. The Miz is fine. He's not injured, and he runs away at full speed. I had completely forgot what his injury was. I thought this was ACL. I thought that's what it was. I thought he was out a year, and they just had him on TV. So this is either a BS injury or an injury that was not that bad, or I just misread what the fuck the injury was. I thought he had a lot of time on the shelf. But apparently he's fine and not injured at all. And I guess he'll be back in the ring now. So I can't tell if they're just going to, next week, it's going to be Priest and Sheamus doing their build for the match, or if Miz and Morrison are going to still do shit with Damian Priest. I bet you it's going to be Damian Priest versus the Miz next week, $100. And by the way, after the match, after Priest beats Morrison and Miz is revealed to be able to walk, Damian Priest winds up challenging Sheamus to a match for the U.S. title at SummerSlam. Sheamus accepts, and then after he accepts, Damian takes out John Morrison, who I think was trying to or attempting to hit Damian Priest with a cheap shot from behind. So Priest and Sheamus is now set for SummerSlam, and we'll run through the card here in just a little bit and see how the pay-per-view is shaping up. But there's a pretty good amount of matches now announced for the show. Just getting back over here to the chat because I was not up on that. Population 420, thanks for the $2. SummerSlam is next Saturday. You ready? Mask mandatory. Yeah, as far as I know, we got to wear a mask there in Vegas. It's a week from this coming Saturday. Yeah, it's almost time to go, man. Got to go up here. I think I knocked out or missed a couple of other super chats here. Zane G, thanks for the $2 earlier, dude. I appreciate it. What up, Mike Work? Raw was boring to me. Raw was boring to me as well. Two more from Barry. Baron spends his WWE money on hookers every week. Oh, okay. Yeah, that can add up. That can add up. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that Miz has been doing appearances all over the place, walking around just fine. I thought he was legit injured. I thought that's what the reports were. I'm just crazy. I agree with Jason Meadows. Ricochet being in AEW or New Japan would be great. I don't think, he was great in NXT too, but when they brought him to the main roster, literally nothing. And he's a guy that's just so stupidly talented. And I know apparently WWE is changing directions. They've completely murdered and destroyed and buried NXT completely, changing directions. They don't want any more little dudes, apparently. I think the word midget was used. They now want to focus more on bigger guys and more jacked guys, all that shit that Vince likes. Even at his age, he's so obsessed with that. It's creepy. And man, oh man. There was a time, by the way, you guys hit that like button for me. Jesus, man, it's bad. Bad. There was a time when NXT was so respected, so loved, so revered, when Triple H was making it that alternative to what WWE was. And AEW kind of slid in and became a better alternative. But NXT was really rolling hard. We all appreciated it. Everybody that was so sick of the main roster shit, Raw and SmackDown, we had NXT to turn to. It was so refreshing. The booking was better. The matches were just incredible. So much different than you would find on television on Raw or SmackDown. It had a great vibe, a great feel, great atmosphere, and that is all completely gone. They are completely backpedaling, downsizing. They're going to undo everything they worked so hard to create in NXT and turn it into more of like an OVW, a developmental type of deal there, and not even try to be competition for AEW. Basically throwing in the towel on the invisible war that never really existed to begin with. And it's just, it's such a shame. Such a shame what they've done to NXT, and it's fucking infuriating too. And Ricochet was so good there, and seeing him on the main roster, you think about what he could do in another promotion, what he could do in AEW, the matches he could have with Darby Allin and all sorts of other guys there would just be so much more exciting, than what he does on Raw, because even though like tonight, his match with Sheamus was very good, ultimately it didn't really mean anything, and it's not a match you're going to remember 3 weeks from now. Where on Dynamite, sometimes those matches will stick with you because they're not so repetitive, and they're not just so much of the same shit every single week in and week out. They stick with you a little bit longer because they offer something, more than the norm and shit that we get in WWE. So I more than anybody else want better things for Ricochet. And I thought if he pulled off the win here, he could get a future title shot against Sheamus, but we knew Priest was going to be the next guy in line for that. And he's likely going to win it, which I don't think bodes well for Ricochet winning any sort of gold anytime soon, unless they bump him to SmackDown or whatever. But even there, I don't put the IC title on him. I just don't know what they're going to do with Ricochet. I feel like he's just kind of hopeless there, but every time he goes out, he'll impress us with his athleticism, no doubt. After that, we had a great tag team match. More of this nonsense. Mason T-Bar taking on Ali and Mansoor. Ali and Mansoor, a little bit similar to RK-Bro here. You might as well just give Mansoor a fucking scooter because he's all up the ass of Ali. But Ali's not about it yet. He's a little bit kind of standoffish, apprehensive still. And the two of them have got to team up and take on Mace and T-Bar. Dijakovic nails Ali with a GTS-type move for the win. Ali sold it great. And Mansoor, I think after the match, I think they tried to continue the attack, correct? I think Mansoor came in and saved him or whatever. So Ali took the pin there. Don't really know with the two of them how long their alliance is going to last, but they're losing. It's really not a situation or an angle that I'm that much interested in. I like Mansoor. I like Ali. I just have no trust or faith in WWE to follow through on anything, creatively satisfying here with them. It's just a way to get Mansoor some reps, some TV time, some more experience. He's good, but, at the end of the day, what does this even mean or matter? I don't think it means anything. Sorry, I'm checking my phone. Oh, I saw your tweet there, Deshaun. 10 years ago today was the contract signing with John Cena and CM Punk for SummerSlam. That's right. That's when CM Punk cut kind of the promo on Triple H, who's just standing there with a smirk on his face, that arrogant smirk that he does so well, and John Laurinaitis is there with him. Man, that was 10 years ago. That blows my mind. Time flies. I'd only been living here in California for less than a year at that point. Man. Ricochet, I think, would be good on SmackDown. I kind of agree. I don't know if he'd be 10 times better or anything like that, but I think the environment on SmackDown would be much better for him. Put him on Fox. Show what he can do. He's great. You know what I mean? After the tag match, we go to some sort of, I think it's a photo shoot with Reggie. And basically, it's he's going to foil a 24/7 title attempt by not only Akira Tozawa, but R-Truth. Tozawa shows up dressed up like a FedEx guy or something, special delivery, and tries to win the title. Reginald fends him off, and then R-Truth shows up dressed as like an old janitor or something. I don't know what the fuck he was even dressed as, and Reggie just flips his way out of there and runs away. So Reggie's kind of more of the Crash Holly even than R-Truth was. Because R-Truth would stick around and fight and stuff like that. Reginald seems like his main concern is just getting the fuck out of there. So, he's so ridiculously flippy and athletic that if he can't make this title even a little bit more interesting, then nobody can. I think the 24/7 title has way run its course. To keep it around, to give it to R-Truth 100 times, I would actually like to see, but there's only so much stuff you can do with this. And now that you got Reggie with the title and all of his acrobatics and his escapes and how creative they could get with those escapes, you might have given it a few more weeks of a shelf life. But really, after this Reginald shit and after R-Truth wins it back, let's think about retiring this dumbass title. But Reggie, I think we're going to see him in the ring more and more, and he's really good. I like Reginald. After that, we get a Lashley and MVP promo. Now, I left the room to go do a couple of chores. I took the trash out. I felt like I was gone for about 10 minutes. So I don't know if I missed anything between Reggie and the Lashley promo, but this is what I've got written down next. And MVP is doing most of the talking here, and he claims that due to Goldberg's spear last week when he was fucking with Goldberg's kid, who was in the front row, he has, get this, 4, count 'em, bruised ribs and 2 cracked ones. And he says he can't cough and he can't sneeze. Well, I got news for you, MVP. You shouldn't be able to walk or talk either. And it's not like you're talking, you weren't soft-spoken. You were talking like you always do. You're blah, 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 blah. You would not be able to expel that much air when you're talking with 2 goddamn cracked ribs and 4 more that are bruised. You are on the couch crying, struggling to breathe, not in the ring cutting a promo, unable to cough. It's going to be a lot worse than that. So you're full of shit. So he's just trying to put over Goldberg's strength. And a lot of people talked about Goldberg's son last week and how he really grew. He was just that little chubby kid who took his shirt off, and it was really creepy during Goldberg's little retirement thing in 2017. He's grown up, and puberty hit him and landed right on that kid's face, and he is the spitting image of Goldberg when Goldberg was younger, played football, had hair. They look exactly alike. He is a dead ringer for his dad, and I think with MVP kind of talking this up a little bit, talking to the kid, saying if your dad shows up at SummerSlam, his career is going to end. I think that kid is going to spear MVP at SummerSlam. He's going to hop the barricade and he's going to spear him. Something like that's going to happen. That's going to be pretty funny. In the end, all MVP did is promise that Lashley's going to rip Goldberg apart. And I'll tell you what, he better fucking do that, because the guy's got no business getting a title shot at all. I think we wanted Lashley and Lesnar. We're getting Lashley and Goldberg. Goldberg was at the Royal Rumble challenging Drew McIntyre, and he fell short. There is no scenario that I can envision that would make any sense for him to come back now and beat Lashley, of all people, for the title. Let Lashley hang on to this title, because you can set him up for some big matches still down the road if you keep the title on him for a little while longer. And you clearly don't have any sort of a real challenger in mind to take that belt off of him if you're bringing Goldberg back in to work a match, because you've got 2 contracted matches he needs to work a year and he's already done 1. So aren't you kind of just telegraphing this shit that he's going to lose? But if he wins, he's either going to have to sign on for more matches, or we don't see the WWE title defended until 2022. So, yeah, I might do a run-in if Goldberg wins the title at SummerSlam. If he wins the title, I'm running in. I'm running in, y'all. I'm going to spear Goldberg. Push this dumb kid out of the way. Look at me. He's my dad, not yours. I don't know, man. I don't even want to think about it. Don't even want to think about it. I'm pretty confident. I mean, anything can happen after what they did in Saudi Arabia with The Fiend, but I'm still pretty confident, even despite that, even despite Vince's stupidity and this company just being run by a pack of moronic monkeys. I don't think that Goldberg's going to beat Lashley. If he does, I will be having issue with that. And don't forget, Lashley, as the news was reported today, is going to be on Broken Skull Sessions, I believe, next Sunday, or this Sunday, the 15th, correct? So that's awesome. Don't take the title off of him, man. Don't do it. I don't think they're going to do it, but who knows? It's WWE. Anything's possible. After that, we got Nikki ASH against Rhea Ripley. Now, Nikki did a promo prior to the match. I was walking around, didn't listen to it. I think she just said, believe in yourself or take your vitamins or whatever. So it's Rhea versus Nikki. Charlotte sabotages the match. She jumps in there, attacks both women. Like I said, I was only barely paying attention to this match, so I didn't catch the finish or the result or the decision. I don't know if Nikki was DQ'd. I don't know if Rhea was DQ'd. I don't know if everybody was DQ'd. I don't know what happened there. But Charlotte came in, beat them both up, cut a promo later about how she's the best and she's going to win at SummerSlam and blah, blah, blah. Apparently Andrade is requesting that his entire family join him in AEW because father-in-law Rick is on his way and he would love to have his woman there. Couldn't ever imagine Charlotte leaving WWE. She has been their female John Cena, their female Roman Reigns. To lose her would be quite the blow. But I'd love to see her in AEW. I'd love it. Fucking love it. Don't resign, Charlotte. Get out of there. Probably one of the more interesting parts of the entire show came next. A vignette of Elias standing in front of a big bonfire with his guitar and throwing shit in the fire. Finally, at the end, throwing the guitar on the fire and saying that Elias is dead. As I'm watching this, I know what he's doing. He's doing what a lot of people throw their shit in the fire when they're going to change their look. So as soon as I see Elias standing in front of the fire, I'm like, thank God. Do something with this guy. You know, he's hit rock bottom. He just got owned by Jackson Riker all those weeks in a row. His entire WWE career has been the exact same week after week, whether he's a heel or a babyface. He comes out, he plays, somebody interrupts him, then they have a match. It's a little short feud that lasts a couple of weeks, and then he moves on and does the exact same thing with somebody else. And he's done this several times as a heel and babyface each. And then he got injured. He was out for like a year. And I remember When he came back that first night, we did the Raw review. I'm like, he is right back to where he was. It was as if he never left. As soon as he came back and got healthy again, they just stuck him, boop, they plugged him right back into where he was before. No extra thought about how to bring him back. Maybe we'll do a fun return. We'll do something where he surprises the fans. Maybe we'll give him a push. Maybe he'll come out and confront the champion. Oh, no. He's just going to go right back to what he was doing. And this guy was out for 1 year, and it didn't feel like he was gone for a day. And I knew that this guy was just never going to be anything beyond that. And it's a shame because he's got a great look. He's in great shape. He's very marketable. He can talk. He can do a lot of stuff. And even though I like the Elias Samson NXT shit when he was a drifter and he would walk around with a guitar, all that I thought could work. But once he got to the main roster, it just became every segment that he was in was the same. And he had several Symphony of Destruction matches and that sort of shit. It was just nothing. It was the same crap. It couldn't have been fulfilling for him at all. And now that really does feel, after the series of losses to Jackson Riker, it feels that has truly run its course. And if he just comes back now as regular old Elias, what is the point? So a repackage is what he desperately needs at this point. So we'll see. He said Elias is dead. I don't know if that means he's going to change his name. I don't know if he's going to go maybe bring back the Samson part, or maybe just be known as Samson, or maybe still be known as Elias, but the Elias we know was dead. He drops the guitar and he becomes more of an actual wrestler or something. I don't know. I would not just make him a, standard wrestler with tights and boots and generic number 9 music. I would go further than that, maybe give him an edge, utilize and the fact that he can talk a little bit on the mic and deprive the fans of the concerts and just be a little bit more serious and just have a much more focused attitude. I suppose that can work. I don't trust WWE though to do anything with it. If this was something where, a couple of writers were dedicated to this and they say, let's try to get Elias over, maybe or something. But I just don't know that once this new Elias debuts, it's going to be up to WWE from there. I'm glad they're doing it. They should be doing something with him other than the same shit he's been doing for the past 3 or 4 years, for however long he's been there. Let this guy do something else. Let him show his versatility in terms of a performer and what he can do and type of characters he can have, and just stop making him so one damn dimensional. So that is really good. I was happy to see this vignette. I don't trust WWE to make it any good, but I'm at least glad that he's moving on from that. This should give him a fresh, kind of batch of circumstances to deal with, opponents, and the type of character he's going to be in vignettes and everything. Should just in promos, I should say. He should have a lot more fun doing this, and we'll see. And we'll see how many of these they run. If they just ran the one vignette and now he's going to debut next week, or if we're going to get 3 or 4 of these where he's going to burn more shit. I think he did take off the headband and some other crap. I would like to see maybe a little bit more before he debuts. Maybe the next one. He said, last time I said Elias was dead, just let him cut a little more of a promo, and talk, maybe revealing a little bit of what his intentions are once he does return to TV, and maybe make it a few vignettes long. I think I'd prefer that over just what we saw here and then he comes out next week, because if that's the case, that's going to tell me that they haven't put much thought into this and they're just, we'll just make it up as we go along like they do everything else. I don't know, but I shouldn't complain about it because I think it's a positive direction for him. I just worry when things like this happen and we look like we're getting a repackage. Even though I think it's good, if Elias was used better, this repackage wouldn't even be necessary. You know what I mean? Because Elias, the gimmick was good, good-looking guy. Ladies loved him. There's so few of us that command that much attention from the ladies, So Elias and I had that in common. And you didn't really need to do a whole lot with him, to keep that character, meaningful and relevant and shit like that. They're so creatively bankrupt that, they've ruined this character to where they got to repackage him. So hopefully the repackaging is good, but it's one of those deals where you really wouldn't have had to do that if you just fucking did more with him. You know what I mean? So we'll see how the new Elias looks when he debuts, but that's good. I'm glad he's not being released, because he doesn't deserve to be. Elias is great. The main event was the match set up earlier on in the night in the opening segment. AJ Styles taking on a returning Randy Orton after 7 weeks off from TV. And of course, Randy Orton told Riddle to stay back. He doesn't want his help. And he goes in there and has this match with AJ Styles. Went about 15 minutes, pretty good. Riddle wound up showing up anyway when Randy Orton starts jaw-jacking with Omos on the outside of the ring. He goes, come on, take your coat off, basically challenging Omos to get up in the ring. And that's when Riddle shows up, dives on Omos's back, tries to attack him, but Omos disposes of Riddle. AJ then recovers in the distraction, hops up on the top rope to do a springboard into his phenomenal forearm, but he lands right into an RKO out of nowhere. They've done that finish before. It looked great. This one was executed perfectly, and Randy Orton has no ring rust. He nailed that thing on AJ perfectly, pinned him for the win, and after the match, Riddle gets in the ring. He's very excited. He's very happy, and he's demanding, or he's not demanding, but he's asking for a hug from Randy Orton, and Orton's like, you want me to hug you? Is that what you want? You want a hug? And then Orton hugs him, and the two hug in the middle of the ring, and the crowd goes wild. It was such a beautiful moment, but you knew this is the Viper we're dealing with. As soon as they let go from their embrace, Riddle turns his back a little bit, turns around, bam, eats an RKO, and that's basically how the show goes off the air. So you kind of saw Riddle smiling a little bit. Even Jimmy Smith on commentary, as the show was fading to black, was saying, is RK-Bro back together? So I don't think this was a split. I actually think this was an alliance, because that's kind of the way Randy Orton rolls, and this is just how he does business. I don't think this was going to be enough to make Riddle snap and say he's done being abused and taken advantage of by this guy, and he's pissed and wants to fight Randy Orton. I think this might be a way to solidify the tag team. Now, we got one more week left. I believe next week is the go-home Raw. So on Raw, 1 week from tonight, they're going to have to make the tag team match at SummerSlam, between Randy Orton and Riddle and AJ and Omos. I don't know how you don't make that match. So that's got to be made official next week. You know, Orton will come out there, or Riddle will come out there, or whatever, and Orton will agree to be on his team. Maybe AJ and Omos will probably interrupt. You know what I mean? It'll be them interrupting, or maybe they'll be out there talking shit, and then Riddle and Orton will interrupt. I don't know. One way or the other, one of those teams is going to be in the ring. The other one's going to interrupt. The challenge is going to be laid down. The challenge will be accepted. And, hell, it might even be AJ and Omos, the ones that do the challenging. I wouldn't be surprised. AJ's pretty confident and cocky with that, gigantic fucking redwood he's got with him. So he's going to feel like he's untouchable. He's the colossal connection. Yeah, I'll take you guys on. And this will be a way to finally make them implode. We're going to show you guys that you can't coexist or whatever. And then Riddle and Randy Orton prove them wrong. And they win the tag team titles at SummerSlam. Then we get a real hug with no RKO after the fact at SummerSlam, with those two guys celebrating with the tag team titles. I'm going to be live to see that, and I'm excited to see it because I feel like that's going to happen. So I think next week on Raw, we will get that. And Monday Night Raw desperately missed Randy Orton. He's not a huge part of the show right now. Him and Drew McIntyre both kind of took a step down. They're out of the title picture, but Orton is doing great stuff. We didn't want to see him leave. It was the funniest part on Raw prior to his absence, and it was always the segments that I was talking the most highly of, the ones I was the most entertained by, and I feel all along you've got to go with the alliance of RK-Bro to where both guys are 100% on board, at least for a little while. It can't last. There will be a split. There will be a match and a feud. But I think you can take your time getting there just to add to the emotion, because we've already seen how emotional and how serious Riddle takes this friendship. I mean, this is a big deal to him. This guy's, I swear, he's like Eugene is what Riddle is. He's just so ridiculously fucking clueless. And if they build a relationship after winning the tag team titles and they become closer, and Randy Orton actually warms up to Riddle even more than he already has, that should make the split even that much more heartbreaking for Matt Riddle. Because another thing we've talked about with Riddle in the past is that I don't know how long, if they ever want to do anything serious with him, how long he can stay this goofy. He's always going to have that goofy aspect to his character, I think. But I think they should pull back on it a little bit. And if something happens to maybe affect or break his faith in being the innocent guy, and make him a little bit more distrusting, a little more angry, a little bit more out for retribution or revenge, tying that into his character, he could be a very dangerous man, especially if he comes into contact with Karrion Cross or something one day. So he'll probably have a feud with Randy Orton first, and maybe that can bring the more serious competitor out of Matt Riddle. And by the time this whole thing runs its course early in 2022, you've used Randy Orton in this whole situation to build up another top contender. And Randy Orton, could be a big part of Matt Riddle, becoming one of those top contenders and being somebody to really be taken seriously. I mentioned the comparison a million times. Kurt Angle was able to be a badass and a moron at the same time. He was a goofy motherfucker. But when he got in the ring, most opponents were scared shitless of him. And he was able to do that somehow. Where Riddle, he doesn't strike the same fear that Angle does in the ring, even though he's, a legit badass and legit can fight. So I think there's got to be just a little bit more of a balancing out there with Riddle somewhere down the road, but not quite yet. Let him just keep being the scooter riding idiot for a few more months. It'll be entertaining. And then, this will be some pretty strong, I think, character development for him when he goes through, heartache, and then he goes through euphoria with his partner and his friend and his BFF, winning the tag team titles. And then when they split up, going through the depression and the fallout from that and dealing with everything there, he might experience the 7 stages of grief, go through anger and depression and bargaining and all that stuff, all within the next few months, that will really kind of shape him as a character and, maybe even allow Riddle to get a better grasp on, who he is on TV and stuff. So I think that, if writing teams and creative teams can just spend a little bit of time thinking that type of stuff through and saying, okay, where do we want to be at the end of this? Which I don't think they're doing now with anything. Or where would we like this to end up ideally? It's impossible to plan too far ahead. Shit changes. Shit happens. But ideally, where would you like this to lead? And try to have a plan for something, If they say, okay, we want this to eventually make Riddle a top contender by February or something like that, then book them in that way. This doesn't seem hard to me. I don't know why. Just make it not stupid. That's all you have to do. And I don't think it takes 6-figure salaries to come up with that, which pretty much everyone on that writing team probably makes. Anywho, you can keep smashing that thumbs up button for me if you'd like. I would appreciate it. I'm going to go back over here to the chat and see what you guys have to say about this stuff. And then I'm probably going to get out of here. Where'd my chat go? There it is. See if there's any more supers. I know I got a few more coming in. There's one from JJ Leg. Thanks, dude. Appreciate the $5 and good to see you. What do you think will happen with Darby on AEW with his allegations against him? I don't know. The Darby allegations, I think, were actually out a year ago. I read through them, none of this shit is good. The speaking out stuff was so bad and ugly. I think in Darby's case, I don't think it's going to affect him too much, to be honest. I have my reasons for it, and I don't want to fucking open up a can of worms there because it's never pleasant to talk about that type of stuff. And I don't like ever, hinting at the fact that, a woman might be telling the truth. I don't want anybody to misconstrue that at all, that sort of thing. I just think that, sometimes... I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. I just think based on what I read about it, I don't think it's going to affect him too much in AEW. I think his situation sounds a little bit similar to Riddle's a little bit, which it's not good by any means, at all. But I'm not sure if I'm really tossing around the word rape, I just don't think that's what it is. I just don't. I just know how people can be when they're young and having a good time or drinking or partying or whatever. And I know that people can be horrible and perverted and things like that. And I just think it's something that AEW should keep their eye on, type of thing. But based on what I saw, I just feel like it's something that will go largely ignored. I mean, what can you do? It's not like you can mention anything on TV, and of the speaking out stuff, I don't remember, but I don't think anybody in any company got suspended for anything. So I don't know what the fans really want. If there's people who are saying, oh, it's not getting enough press and people have the balls to report the Darby Allin stuff. I don't know what you want AEW to do. They have reacted well about a few things. Some they haven't. They've made good decisions and bad. I think they even kind of slightly punished Sammy Guevara a little bit for the rape comment he made about Sasha Banks. So I don't know. I feel like nothing's going to happen. I feel like it's not a new allegation. It's one that was a year old that's now been brought up again. So I think Darby probably, when it first happened, he probably, had a talk with AEW management. I don't know. I feel like we're not going to see anything visually on TV. Any sort of repercussions there. If anything, maybe they keep him off TV for a couple of weeks, let it cool down. I don't know. Don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen there. I like Darby Allin, though. It's a shame when you hear stuff like this. And I think everybody just needs to do better in life. Michael Kumo, thanks for the $2, dude. I do love Corbin's divorced dad gimmick. He is so pathetic. I just love it. I cracked up so hard when Drew asked him how much money he needed. I'll help you out. How much money do you need? $100,000. Oh, my God. Okay. $100K, huh? What'd you say? I used the type of thing just like Brett? If I picked it up from Brett as a kid? Does Brett say type of thing? That doesn't even seem like a Brett-ism to me. I thought I knew all the Brett-isms. Havoc. Oh, yeah. Thank you for that. Havoc was released. He was kind of a douche, though. I heard a lot of bad stories about him. Yeah, I mean, that was just a crazy time last year when all that stuff came out. I mean, everybody was getting accused of shit. It was just insanity. And it's hard to, go through the ones that are, 100 legit, and, the others where, people might be over dramatic and stuff. And, there's a lot of drama in general, like in wrestling and stuff. I see a lot of people and people are different. Everybody reacts different ways to different situations. There's some people when, something happens to them that's not good, but maybe happens to all of us, and they'll have a screenshot of 4 pages of notes from their phone typing out all their feelings about it. Sometimes I see some stuff like that and I kind of roll my eyes and I'm like, well, it's a bit over dramatic, but at the same time, it helps that person cope. That's what they need. They need to put that out there to get that to support, to help bring them up and pick them back up. So whatever works for you, whatever helps you deal, whatever helps you cope, whatever helps you cope, I should say, I think I just would react to things differently, than some people. And, a lot of people put their entire lives and, everything on social media, for a lot of reactions and stuff. And I don't know, it's hard to filter through, a lot of it, that have more, more just negative intentions, or whatever. And the ones that, people who are truly victimized and want to, have their story told, and say, hey, this fucker needs to be held accountable. I want to support them too. So it's just, it's just awful. I just think everybody should be better. And you didn't have to tell me that wrestling was full of perverts. Kind of already knew that. So, and I'm glad that we didn't have any speaking out in the 80s. Holy shit. That would not be good. Joey's Adventures. Thanks for the $2. Could you see Braun in Impact as their top guy? Maybe, if they can pay him. I think Braun is just more suited for WWE. We've heard some reports that he's going to be heading back, or he might be heading back. I wouldn't be surprised at that either. Braun says in the past, it seems like he's looked down a little bit on other promotions and all that. He blocked me because a year ago, I called him out. He was basically telling people who were unemployed due to COVID to find a better job or to work harder or whatever. I'm like, motherfucker, this is so out of people's hands, and it was just a really kind of like tone deaf comment, just kind of showed his ignorance. And, he's talking about, I drove in my Kia down to Florida with $70 in my pocket. I'm like, this is so not the same thing. Way to make it about yourself. Way to make a pandemic that's causing millions of people, myself included, to be unemployed. At least for a few months I was. And, you're going to claim it's because, we didn't work hard enough in school. Go fuck yourself. You big overgrown fuck. So since then, I haven't given a shit about him at all. I don't like him. And I don't care where he goes. But if he shows up in Impact, that would be, I don't know how he wouldn't be their top guy. But I feel like he'll come in for a pay cut. He got that big contract. They'll sign him for maybe a little bit less and bring him back. He had a chance it's not even his fault. It's WWE's, but he had a chance to be the next big thing. He had a chance to be the next Brock. I thought they should have had him beat Brock. He was so over, so big, so strong, so intense. His presentation, the music, everything was great. Even the fans loved him, including myself. I was a huge Braun Strowman fan. And then shit just started going downhill with him when he was healed, a babyface, and squandered the money in the bank, I think. And Brock kind of showed him up a little bit. And, next thing you know, he's doing nonsense, winning tag team titles with little kids, and he's, in the ring with SNL guys. He's Big Show 2.0 or Big Show 1.5. I don't know what you call it. Yes, CM Punk is 1 week from this Friday in the United Center. AEW Rampage, that's going to be great. I'm going to be in Vegas. I'll be just getting in. We're going to leave probably in the morning. I'll probably get there in the afternoon, so I'll have a few hours to figure out where I'm going to be to try to watch that. I'm not going to probably – it's interesting. I'm going to Vegas for SummerSlam, but I'm probably not going to give two shits about SmackDown that night. I'm going to be all about Rampage. I just really want to be able to see CM Punk show up there as it happens, and we'll see. We'll see where I can make that happen. Still working out the details there. George Morris, what took you so long, man? Where have you been? Thanks for the $5 too. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? Raw 0 out of 10. Very depressing patient at work with cancer and more than half his face gone. Big hole. Very sad. Yeah, that's kind of sad. In a wrestling-related depressing cancer story like that was Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan just severely deteriorated and stuff, and he just went through hell the last few years of his life dealing with that and stuff. That's a shame, man. Sorry to hear that. That's right. I did for Velveteen Dream. They kept around, though. They finally did release him, but they took long enough to do it, And the Velveteen Dream stuff was a little bit more because, when you have actual physical evidence, that makes things a little bit easier and stuff. And, Velveteen Dream, you can't tell me that was not his fucking voice on the phone. Yes, it was. And that was his social media. This isn't a frame job. Ocean's 11 didn't infiltrate WWE and frame Velveteen Dream. He fucking did it. So things like that, it's one thing. And I think back a year ago when all this was happening, all I was telling people is just judge. You really do have to judge every situation differently because they're all different situations with different stories and different types of accusations and different people involved. And some people have a history of it. Some people have no history of it. You've never heard a bad word about the person. They're getting accused of something. Others, you've heard multiple bad things about them. And, it was a mess. It was a mess. But I don't know what the right answer is, He should flip over the ring. He never did flip the ring, though, right? Did he lift it? I think he lifted it. And I know it broke once. But, man, yeah, he was flipping over everything. I cracked up. How much money do you think they spent on the ambulances and the trucks and the shit he destroyed during that time when that seemed to be his deal? Yeah, Timu, if I want to pick up more Brettisms, I should call it the SummerSlam and the WCW. In the SummerSlam. Yeah, we watched the Brett promo last night. Great promo. He looked so good with the title from SummerSlam 1994 when he faced Owen in the cage. And he was definitely calling it the SummerSlam there. Maybe it's a Canadian thing. I don't know. Any Canadians in the chat? Do y'all say the SummerSlam and the WCW? Really, you don't even say I guess you do say the WWE sometimes, but that doesn't make any sense anymore, the way it did with WWF. You got 5 years left of AJ Styles. Well, AJ is my age, so he's going to be 49. Yikes. Shashank, my championship odd for championships are, I can't read this, WWE title Big E, Universal title Finn Balor, NXT title Adam Cole, United States Jackson Riker. Yikes, not Jackson Riker. That actually reminds me, let's just take a quick peek at the SummerSlam card, see how many matches we actually have for this, but I'm only going by WWE.com, so y'all might have to help me add the ones that aren't totally official yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 we've got, and I think 7 tonight with the addition of Priest and Sheamus. So we've got Roman and Cena, Nikki ASH, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte in a triple threat, Lashley versus Goldberg, the Usos versus Rey and Dominic Mysterio, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks, and Edge versus Seth Rollins. That means we're going to get probably 2 more on the Raw side next week. Damian Priest and Sheamus should be made official. Probably this week it will be. They won't even wait till next. That'll probably just be made official on social media. And then I think next week on Raw is when we'll get the tag team match announced. Orton and Riddle taking on AJ and Omos. So that'll bring the count up to 8 matches. And over on SmackDown, we're probably going to get an IC, right? Will we get an Intercontinental title match over there? That should bring the total to 9. And what else do they add? Do we get no Kevin Owens, no Sami Zayn, no Shinsuke, no Corbin, no Balor? What do they do? So I guess maybe Balor and Corbin might wrestle SummerSlam. That could be happening too. I'm not sure, but I guess I would hope we would get a minimum of 12 matches here. I don't know how long the show is going to be, but I feel like there's room to add definitely a few more. But the card really isn't bad. I mean, the Goldberg and Lashley is not going to be good. I got to think, I guess I have. I was about to say, I don't think I've ever seen Goldberg wrestle before in person, but I have. I saw him in 2003, and I think just 2003. Yeah, I saw him at least 2 Raws or something in 2003. Was when I remember seeing Goldberg. But this should be a whole new experience for me, seeing him in a title match against Lashley, of all people. Let me see, what else? You guys got any other matches for me? WWE should bring back Bray Wyatt instead of Braun. Yeah, they should. Mike Witt, I think Randy Orton RKO'd Riddle just because he's Randy Orton. I think it actually was a sign that they might be keeping the team together for a little bit. So, yeah, he just they hugged, and then he hit him with an RKO. And I think next week they'll stick around, and they'll book those 2 guys in a tag team match for the titles against AJ and Omos at the SummerSlam, as Bret Hart would say. Kurt, in terms of the comparison between Angle and Matt Riddle, Kurt just looked more threatening than Riddle. I don't know, if you see him in that little fucking hat that he wore, you look at Riddle and you see textbook definition of a stoner. Yeah, he definitely does resemble a stoner. But Kurt in the ring was pretty intimidating, but backstage he wasn't that intimidating. He was a goofy fuck. But yeah, Riddle is, stoners are generally not violent people. So, Riddle doesn't have any like pent up anger and aggression. He's the type of guy, if he had a YouTube channel, he's not going to be one of those guys screaming into his camera because he smokes weed and he gets laid. So it's different than others. And it's going to be really hard for him to tap into anger, to tap into something that can, manifest itself into just a killing machine. And that's why I think maybe some of the stuff that they're doing with Randy Orton could eventually bring that out of Riddle. And your comparison there and your assessment there, I'm hoping that WWE kind of understands that stuff too, and saying, yeah, this Riddle stuff is fun, but don't forget this guy's got an MMA background. He fought in the UFC. He beat the shit out of anybody. You should at least utilize that a little like you did with Kurt. Kurt was funny, Kurt was goofy, but when the bell rang, it was go time. And I think you just need a little bit more out of that from Riddle, and you've got yourself a pretty damn solid character. Jinder and Drew, that's right. You think that's going to be SummerSlam? I mean, we're going to get a sword match. Are we going to get a sword on a pole match? The winner of the sword? I think whoever retrieves the sword turns into He-Man. But if not, maybe you can retrieve the sword and use it as a weapon and cut your opponent in half, slice him up, chop him up. I don't know. But yeah, Jinder and Drew are probably going to be added as well, unless they're going to have to put Drew on SummerSlam. I mean, I can't imagine them not. Mike Witt, that's an interesting one. Balor turning heel on Cena for taking his title run. I would hope that Finn Balor isn't going to let this shit slide with John Cena, and that might be a match we need to see as well. Finn Balor versus John Cena. If he turns on him, I mean, Cena, does that mean he's going to stick around for a little bit? Cena's been in the building a lot on TV in the past few weeks and hasn't been used. How crazy is that? Even Cena isn't exempt from just being stuck in catering. I don't know what the thought process there is. I mean, on Raw, he doesn't belong here. He's kind of doing a SmackDown thing right now, but still, he wasn't on SmackDown either. I don't think he's been wrestling dark matches. He was in a dark match tonight. So he's there to be in front of the crowd, but they don't put him on TV at all, which is a little strange. But if he sticks around, he's got to go do that movie. Maybe he just leaves for a few weeks to go shoot the movie shit, and then he's back on TV late September or something like that to, rekindle stuff with Finn Balor and maybe go into whatever the pay-per-view is. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it at all. Balor's a good heel. Yeah, don't piss me off. We heard that. Somebody mentioned that in the comments earlier who was at the show, that John Cena came out and did a 3-way hug with Randy Orton and Riddle. All very nice and touching. Gotta love it. Yeah, whoever gets the sword can legally stab the other. It's quite a weapon they're using. With Triple H not running NXT anymore, does Vince ruin it like he has done to the main roster? Is the word out that Triple H is not running it? I didn't hear that. I think Vince has already ruined it. They've done what they've done to NXT. They're changing the vibe of it. They're changing the direction. They're changing the purpose, which to me just is a mind blower to me, because NXT provided pretty damn good wrestling and they had a pretty solid brand there, and those takeovers were always great. And I think when the fans came back and they put the shows back in an audience, it could still continue to be that. Even with AEW there, I think NXT would still have a place, but not anymore. I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, they've let me off the hook a little bit, because, I mean, there's a lot of wrestling to watch and I got podcasts to do and stuff. I got to tell you, man, with this news of NXT, I'm never going to do any more than eyeball the show from now on, because what's the point? WWE's Twitter page, or I think the WWE on Fox one, or maybe it was the NXT one, they're doing the breakout tournament in NXT, and they were, putting up graphics of different wrestlers. Who do you think's going to win? And everybody commented like, it doesn't matter, because whoever wins, you're just going to fucking release. You've killed any reason for us to get invested in anybody now, and they were all right. The fans are right. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't care what they do on NXT. I'm going to watch all the takeovers because I think those will still be good. But in terms of the weekly show, I'm never going to do any more than eyeball it, read the results, see if anything interesting happened. If people are raving about a match, I'll watch it. But I'm not going to carve out time to watch NXT anymore. No, I'm taking it off. Bye, NXT. I'm not watching 205 Live, main event, none of that shit. There's too much stuff to keep track of. I would love to watch NXT if NXT maintained the identity that they had, with the wrestlers they had and everything else they do. If all that was still there, I'd be all about NXT. But now that they are going in this apparent direction, I'm taking Tuesdays off, man. I'll look at the results, and if something great happened, I'll watch it. Otherwise, nah. We'll just briefly touch on it in the podcast or whatnot. And I think I'm going to focus more of my energy on making sure that we do a full Dynamite review every week. And right now in the summertime, it's really weird. Once we get into the fall, I can probably take Wednesday nights off. But right now, I'm kind of going to be busy. So I'm going to be doing podcasts on Thursdays every now and then to review Dynamite and stuff, and try to give AEW some more attention, because NXT is losing my attention. And Saturdays will be fun. Now that we got 2 Friday shows, we're going to have Rampage and SmackDowns to talk about. So Saturdays will continue. So we'll probably, once we get into the fall, hopefully we can do a Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday type of deal. And before then, maybe I'll be up here on Thursdays as often as I can to discuss AEW Dynamite from the previous night. So there's a lot of stuff to still watch, but in terms of NXT, I'm not going to pay much attention to it. I'm going to kind of just let it go and just eyeball it. And that's sad, because the talent there is great. They still, even despite all these releases, these stupid releases, they still have a pretty good roster there. And, if the direction changes, the direction changes. But, I liked it the way it was, and I'm a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of guy. And to me, they've completely murdered something that I always thought was thriving, So I don't know. Bring back primetime wrestling over NXT. I wouldn't be opposed to a show like Primetime Wrestling that was maybe set up the same way, but what made that show so great? It was Gorilla and Bobby. And if you do a show like that now with some of WWE's personalities, Corey Graves and somebody else, how good can that really be? The set might be cool, and it might be cool for a little throwback, but it's going to be so modernized, it's just probably not going to be very good. But I'd do anything to go back to those days. Sitting in the dark on a Sunday or Monday night. A lot of times prime time would alternate which day it was on, depending on which season it was. But watching Gorilla and Bobby talk, and then you just go to a taped match in a dark arena, either in the Boston Garden, MSG, or the Spectrum, or somewhere like that. A lot of times you'd have Lord Alfred Hayes on commentary, talking about these random-ass matches. They'd show the match. They'd go back to the studio. Gorilla and Brain would banter. And that's all I needed as a wrestling fan. I was happy as a fucking clam back in those days. And I wish it was still those days. That's for sure. There has been some talk, I guess you guys might be talking about Adam Cole. Apparently his meeting with Vince McMahon went relatively well. They did want him to be a part of the main roster, and apparently the reports say that they offered him in the neighborhood of $1 million a year. So now he's got a decision to make. If it's an offer that Tony Khan is not going to match, then he has to consider staying there. But like we have argued on the channel, if I'm Adam Cole and I'm looking around what happens to everybody else, what the fuck would make me want to stay there? You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to show me something, give me some sort of out, or give me some sort of assurance that you're not going to turn me into what you've turned everybody else into. And Vince, everybody there loves Adam Cole. He's well respected. He was kind of like Shawn and Triple H's pet project. And Vince apparently likes him. He's well respected and gets along with everybody and is considered an extremely professional person and how he's dealing with all of this. So whatever he decides, if he's getting the insurance he needs and say, hey, I can be, a big part of a show that gets the best ratings in all of wrestling. Honestly, Raw or SmackDown beats AEW pretty handily in the ratings, and I have a chance to work SummerSlams and WrestleManias, and provided they don't turn me into Elias, and just have me lose every single week and actually have something to do, there could be an argument to stay here. Now, all of us want to see him in AEW because there's a lot of history there. There's Bullet Club stuff, the Young Bucks, and there's so many other people there that he has history with, that he could work with, and he would be in the title picture for sure, where in WWE he does have that size issue. And we just heard the new edict that came in from WWE, no more midgets, was the phrase that was used. I can't fucking believe that. And Adam Cole is not a guy that's 250 pounds. So, if I'm Adam Cole, yeah, you can offer me some money, but fine. How are you going to use your investment? You're spending $1 million on me. So if you're willing to pay me that much to be here just to keep me from over there, I don't want to be on TV every week having 6 rematches in a row with John Morrison or somebody like that. I'd want some assurance that I'm going to do more. But from what we've all heard, there hasn't really been those type of situations where talent has been able to, have like creative control in WWE, or say, ensure me something, creatively decent to do and put that in the contract. It's really not something that's happened. And if it was going to happen, I think it would have already happened to somebody like Daniel Bryan, who's going to be going over to AEW, who WWE did treat very well, but there were a few things that he wanted. And one of those was to go work in Japan. And they just don't do that. So they lost him. With Adam Cole, he doesn't have quite the pull of a Daniel Bryan, because he's been mostly in NXT the whole time. But, if they see big things in him, if they see that they can use him meaningfully on the roster, on the main roster, then I'm actually okay with him staying there, because I would love SmackDown or Raw to get some new blood, some new top contender blood, not just somebody that's going to go out and have 16 contender matches for the U.S. title against Sheamus or Apollo, and just do that 15 fucking weeks in a row until it just gets boring and you don't even care when the guy comes out to the ring. Make him special. Make him mean something. Let him get some wins. Let him challenge for a major title. If you do all of that with Adam Cole, then sure, stick around, because at the end of the day, you are in the WWE. At the end of the day, this is where the most eyeballs will see you. This is where you will get your name known even more and more. This is where you can build up yourself to get leverage against another contract in the future and really secure your future and be a big star. He's still young. He can still sign a contract with WWE now and go to AEW in 3 years. There's lots he can do. He's got options. So maybe now that I hear those reports, maybe I'm a little bit more open to him staying in WWE. As a fan, I'd much prefer him in AEW. But now, if they're willing to pay him that much, it would just go to show the ignorance and the fucking arrogance and the assholishness of this company if they literally spent $1 million per year to simply keep somebody away from AEW. So if they're, and I just would really hope they wouldn't do that, even though it kind of sounds like them, but if you're willing to pay this guy that much, wouldn't you want to get a return on your investment? Wouldn't you want to push him in a meaningful way to where he can get over, sell some merch, shit like that, to where he can actually, have value and he can actually bring people, and bring interest into a title match? I don't know. We'll see, if any official announcement comes down sooner rather than later about that. But I'm still hoping that he goes to AEW, because that would just be this influx of talent they're about to get. I mean, if you add Punk and Bryan and Adam Cole and Pete Dunne and Bray Wyatt and a legend like Ric Flair to join the rest of the Horsemen there, I'm going to be watching an awful lot of Rampage and Dynamite, and I'm going to be paying more attention to that, because Raw and SmackDown I can watch on autopilot. We all can. All you got to do is turn it on and tune it out. Because it's the same shit. When I'm writing notes for the show, it's so easy. I'm just Damian Priest. I even start writing down results before they're done. When McIntyre got in the ring with Corbin tonight, I wrote right here in my notes, Drew McIntyre defeats Baron Corbin, because that was what was going to happen. It wasn't going to be the other way around. So, you don't even have to pay much attention, because even if you miss something, when you come back to commercial, they show you 16 fucking replays of it, throughout the show. So with Dynamite, you have to pay a little bit more attention. You have to write down some of the details of shit that happens or shit that was said, and Rampage, I'm sure, will be a lot like that too. So from an attention standpoint, when I'm watching these shows or making notes on them or doing reviews, I have to pay a little bit more attention to AEW, because they do shit that's just not rinsed and repeated every damn week. So those are the type of things I think about in terms of Adam Cole and anybody else in his position that's got to be able to look at the evidence and look at the writing on the wall, and say, what's most important to me? And get a fat payday, and probably still be used pretty well. I don't think he's going to get a fat payday and be treated like Ali, which is possible. You can't pay somebody $1 million a year and treat him the way you do Ali. And Ali's another guy that's just so incredible and has so much to offer and is so stupidly good. And much like Adam Cole has professionalism, he has the respect of everybody he works with, and is supremely athletic and is every single bit as good in the ring as Seth Rollins is. But he gets no opportunities at all. What the fuck gives? So with Cole, you've got to assume it's at least got to be better than that. But, I'm awfully nervous from a creative standpoint if I'm Adam Cole, if I stick around. So, we'll see. Here on this channel, we don't judge. I think anybody that attacks, they'll do it. They'll do it. There are going to be fans that are going to attack him if he decides to stay. Call him stupid. He's in an abusive relationship. Trying to tell somebody else. Some broke piece of shit sitting on their mom's couch telling somebody else how to manage their finances and support their families. Go fuck yourself. And if you're one of those people, you ain't welcome in this chat. So whatever Adam Cole decides to do, we support him. I hope it's AEW, but if it's WWE, I still like Adam Cole. And got his back regardless. Damn good worker. So we'll see what happens. Could I imagine if WWE worked with other promotions like AEW, New Japan, Impact, or MLW? How awesome would that be? I don't know how awesome it would be. I mean, it would be cool in theory because there's a lot of great matches and stuff. But man, WWE would be so controlling in that situation. And I just, it's never good. Like historically, promotions don't work well together. This never really worked out. 80s was not that way when WWE was taken over, and AWA and WCCW and the NWA came together for the super clashes and stuff. It was all fucked up, just discombobulated. Too many cooks in the kitchen. You can't get anything done. And everybody, of course, wanted their guy to go over, and they're all trying to use this as a way to get their own brand some more recognition, not really caring about anybody else. So, WWE would, probably insist things be done a certain way, where AEW is in that type of driver's seat as well, with their working relationships, but I think they're also much more willing and optimistic, or willing to give a little bit more and open to that type of stuff, where WWE probably be their way or the highway. There's probably a little bit more lines of communication with AEW. And so far, all of the stuff that they've done, the outside talent that they've brought in have done very, very well. with the Thunder Rosas and the NWA people and some people from New Japan and the tie-in with the U.S. title being on AEW. All that is working out marvelously. I'm loving it. Some co-promotion. So far, I haven't seen, too much that's been negative. There was that one story about Sammy Guevara going to Impact, something happening there, and he left. So there's going to be probably disagreements and shit like that, and everybody's going to want to make sure they, they're getting over as best they can. So as long as it can remain, if everybody can remain happy with each other, then I think AEW, I'd rather have them working with these other companies than WWE, because WWE would just WWE it. If they did maybe a WWE New Japan like Wrestle Kingdom type of combo, that might be fun to send Roman over there, do a Wrestle Kingdom match or something, that would be admittedly very cool. But any sort of working agreement that sees wrestlers on TV, I don't want to see Tanahashi come out on SmackDown and have a championship contenders match with somebody. No, I don't want to see that at all. So it's the last thing I want. So, a lot of these times, if, Okada or Tanahashi or Naito or any of these guys came over, Jay White, whatever it is, comes to WWE, they're just going to do WWE shit. And I don't want to see them do that. I want to see it just feel a little bit more real, feel a little bit more, realistic, less produced, that type of thing. And AEW, I think, provides that much better than WWE. Punk's pop in Chicago is going to be huge. Yep. Yeah, I don't think AEW is going to work with WWE. I mean, they claim that they want to kick open doors and stuff, but I would rather, I prefer them as competition. I want AEW to be today's modern WCW. I feel like it is. It's halfway there. It shows a ton of love to the history of WCW. AEW in 2 years has shown more respect to WCW than WWE has in 20 years. With the people they're bringing in and the tie-in to TNT. You got Shivani. Bischoff has been on TV. Ric Flair is about to walk out on TNT for the first time in 21 years. And that's incredible to me. That's awesome. So I feel like today AEW is, a modern-day WCW. And I'd rather keep them that way. That way it's fun to see talents contract go up and they show up on the other show. That was always very fun during the Monday Night Wars. Fans now are no fun. They'd have no clue how to have fun because they're all losers. So all they say is, AEW is just WWE cast-offs and stuff. I'm like, bitch, go back and look through history. Everybody was cast-offs. People got left one company, they went to the other. That's the way it's always been. It's never been any different. But unfortunately, your little schmuck brain hasn't been watching wrestling beyond 2006. And you don't know any fucking history. So you make these stupid-ass opinions. That's what you see out there now. They're no fun. They don't know how to have fun. They don't know how fun it is to watch talent move. Instead, when a talent jumps from another company, what do? They criticize. They don't get excited. They have to find some way to tear it down. So I think this is fun. This is what we got back in the day, and we're kind of getting it again. And granted, AEW's new. We haven't had any talent coming the other way yet, really, but we will at some point. The longer AEW lives on, and the more they continue to grow, the more that type of stuff is going to happen. And some of their contracts are going to come up, and some guys are going to say, I don't want to stay here. I want to go to WWE. That's going to happen. So, once you get beyond like 5 years or so of AEW's existence, then the transfers are going to be a little bit more balanced out between the two. Right now, it's just WWE was in talent hoarding mode a couple of years ago. Now they're dumping, 100 plus or more pieces of talent. They're really, the only ones that are going to be making the big jumps. But as time goes on and AEW grows and their roster grows and they start filtering out the ones that, maybe aren't made for AEW, be better somewhere else, or they weren't doing anything with, you're going to see talent going back and forth all the time because that's the way it was back in the old days. You just have to give it time. Wrestling fans, modern fans anyway, have no concept of time. They have the patience of a fucking gerbil. They have no clue that things take time. I've actually heard people say, I gave AEW a chance, but man, they've just really been going downhill. I'm like, they're 21 months old. Jesus, if you're a baby, you're still shitting in your pants. You're still 2 years away from crapping in a toilet. It takes time, for you to grow and develop and do things. And I think for a company that's only 2 years old, they're doing really well. And they will grow over time and get better. And that's when you're going to see, hopefully, wrestling become really fun. because by then, hopefully both companies have kind of forced each other to up their games, because WWE just cannot keep spinning their wheels like this for too long unless they are really, really trying to target a completely different wrestling audience. I'm hoping that AEW can do comparable numbers over on TNT that's going to make WWE say, okay, obviously they're not going to beat us or anything, but they're making enough noise to where we have to remind everybody that we are the top game in town. And that will force them to get better. And the television will improve. Because I don't want Raw and SmackDown to suck. I want it to be good. Some fans look at it differently. Every time Raw sucks, it just gives them more shit to bitch about. They like it, but I kind of would rather have the opposite. I want to have a great Raw, followed by a great Dynamite, followed by a great SmackDown and Rampage, and followed by a great pay-per-view twice a month, or once a month, at least. AEW doesn't run that frequently. You know what I mean? So, that's what I think the future will be for, AEW, and as they continue to grow, and to watch both companies exist, and watch how they do things and react to each other and what talent moves around and stuff. That's going to be fun. It's on the horizon. It's on the cusp of happening again for the first time in 20 plus years. Fans should embrace it, not reject it. It's my rant for the night, but I got to get out of here because I'm hungry. I want to eat some dinner. So you guys have a good rest of your night. Oh wait, let me make sure I didn't forget a super chat. I think I got you all. Really bums me out when I miss one. Yeah. All right, cool. I got them all. Thanks for being here, y'all. I appreciate it a lot. I will probably be back up here on Thursday for a Dynamite review. We'll be up on Saturday to talk Rampage and SmackDown. And then Sunday, we're going to be doing a classic Summerslam watch along. I'm going to put a poll up on YouTube in the next day or so. So make sure you subscribe to me and check my page. We're going to narrow it down to maybe a couple of CM Punk related SummerSlams, 2013 or 2011, or maybe an earlier SummerSlam like 1992 in Wembley, or even 1991 in Madison Square Garden. It's going to come down to something like that. So keep a lookout for that poll on YouTube and on social media. Like the video on your way out the door. Shoot me a follow on Twitter @GoodMikeWork, and have a great rest of your Monday night. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.